So one of the unexpected games Nintendo announced at E3 that we just finally got new information from during their Nintendo Direct is codenamed S.T.E.A.M, the strategy game coming from Intelligent Systems. They make strategy games typically like Fire Emblem, Advance Wars, but there's something about codenamed S.T.E.A.M that just feels really different.
Whenever we're describing the game, we always say, from the creators of Fire Emblem, because that's what's recognizable. But this is nothing like a straight-up Fire Emblem. This is much more, I think, like XCOM. It's like XCOM on your 3DS because it's a tactical strategy game, but you're playing it from the point of view of your character. Well, from the third-person point of view of your character, and you're able to guide them around the map and fire on enemies, and that's all happening in real time. But you get to take your turn before the enemies take theirs, and you have your whole squad, and you kind of move them around and position them on the map, and then the enemies take their turn, and you fight against them.
But you can set up sort of like these preemptive counterattacks by, because every move that you make when it's your turn costs a certain amount of energy. So if you conserve some of that, you can actually set yourself up so that if an enemy comes in range of one of your characters, you can negate their turn and sort of maybe even stun them at one point or another, which seemed to be like a really important part of this game when it comes to strategizing.
But at the same time, you're always going to get waves and waves of enemies. So what they were telling us is that to keep you from just like taking a couple steps and then keeping your meter maxed out so that you are going to be able to counterattack, the longer you wait, the more enemies are going to start coming in on screen. So you still want to be able to, you want to push it. You don't want to just hang back the entire time. So you have to balance that, like, do I need to be able to retaliate, or is it safe for me to just kind of branch out and start exploring? I think another neat aspect of this, or at least interesting, is that the speed of your character matters in terms of enemies noticing you. So if you sneak, if you walk slowly and carefully, they're not going to hear you coming. You'll be able to actually sneak up on enemies.
And you do this by just moving the analog stick a small amount, right?
But if you jam the analog stick, if you do go into a run, you're going to make a lot of noise. Your character says like, oh, I'm making a lot of noise. Enemies are going to notice you, and they're going to start trying to come towards you and start attacking you.
Yeah, a lot of the weapons in this game are sort of, like some of them are like really mechanical based. They're like, you're fighting aliens, but you don't really have like a selection of sci-fi based weapons. I mean, this is based in the age of Steam. Everything is very sort of archaic and rudimentary that way.
So each of your characters has a primary weapon, like something that they always have equipped, and then you have the sub-weapon, which is something that you can choose, and most of those seem not necessarily generic, but those are your standard things, like the shotgun and the rifle. But the weapon that your character comes equipped with can actually change how you react to the battlefield. Like, so there's the lion from The Wizard of Oz, which that's just a weird choice for a character. His primary weapon is a lion launcher that lets him boost himself up over obstacles and go over fences, and he's the only character who can get to some of these high up places or to traverse some of the obstacles that you come across because he has a gun that launches himself.
Yeah, and he's not the only character from sort of like American folklore. I guess you wouldn't really call that folklore, but you know what I mean. So there's John Henry, the guy who I think famously like fought to chisel his way through a mountain, like against a machine. But then you've also got Abe Lincoln, who is sort of the president who is directing you to fight back against these aliens.
It's a weird mix of characters. You have Tom Sawyer from literature, but you also have Tiger Lily, which is a random Native American, and a Pumpkinhead guy that's a guy with a pumpkin on his head.
Yeah, it's a very strange game. I mean, it definitely has, like when I was playing it, I felt tuned into the strategic sort of combat, that the game is basically built upon. But the rest of it, for me, was really hard to kind of attach myself to in a meaningful way. Granted, like most of the games from Intelligent Systems have always been cartoony characters, but they're so different that I don't know if I'm going to be able to latch on to them.
I don't even notice the characters. The whole situation's kind of ridiculous, and the story is whatever, but Intelligent Systems just makes really great combat systems, and I just felt myself getting drawn into the combat itself and trying to strategize, how could I go around this? It felt a little easy because as long as you get one character to the end, you're gonna make it. It's not like that difficulty of Fire Emblem where you have permadeath, where your character's choices really, really matter. Everyone can pass out in this game. As long as one guy makes it to the end, you're fine. So in that sense, it feels a little more simplistic, but at the same time, like I want to find all the little secrets in the map, and I want to get all of my characters alive to the end.